Thanks for tuning in to this week's edition of The Frame, an initiative of Access Framingham. I'm Brendan Fitzpatrick. We start tonight with the annual State of the City address, which took place on Monday. Mayor Charlie Sisitsky spoke about recent accomplishments as well as goals for 2024. City officials, municipal employees, and leaders within the community joined the mayor at the Memorial Building as he began his address by rounding up what he called positive developments across Framingham last year.
This has been a year of achievements and change. As we look toward the future, I am proud to report that the state of our city is strong.
Those developments included the acquisitions of property for the forthcoming community center and Southside Elementary School projects, cleanup plans for Mary Dennison Park, expansions to rail trails in the city, and the start of a geothermal energy project. Sisitsky praised the city's response to the influx of immigrants over the summer, along with an increased involvement in the civic process. 311 people applied to different municipal groups in 2023, according to the mayor, a 124% increase since 2022. Sisitsky told attendees that goals for the year ahead include infrastructure improvements, along with addressing the ongoing troubles regarding school bus shortages, vacant municipal positions, and local medical centers. With that in mind, he's looking to create an economic development committee to help with these upcoming plans, especially considering that the state's revenue, in his own words on Monday, quote, has not kept up with projections, end quote, meaning there could be ramifications for local aid. As he wrapped up the address, Sisitsky said he looks forward to maintaining transparency within the city government while continuing a relationship with the city council that's, quote, civil and respectful.
I'm disappointed to note that there were occasions when this broke down. With the new year and new city council, my hope is that we will engage in respectful and constructive dialogue to find balance with a lens of gratitude for the critical work that we are all doing.
And speaking of infrastructure improvements, the City Council heard an update from the Department of Public Works Tuesday night regarding their ongoing project in Saxonville. Back in 2016, the Saxonville Intersection Improvement Project began its design process, as it now targets Central Street from Water to Concord Streets, along with Concord between Stones Court and the Sudbury River Bridge. Scope of work includes sewer and water work, along with measures to improve accessibility, improve all modes of transportation, and to boost the area's landscaping and atmosphere. Chief Engineer Bill Sedowitz said the DPW will hold a public meeting on the matter in the spring, but the hope is to have the entire project done within 3 years, with sewer and water work wrapping up this summer and fall, respectively. The DPW has requested close to $7.5 million in total for the 2025 fiscal year in order to complete multiple facets of the work. City Councilor Brandon Ward represents District 2, the district where most of the work is being done. He said that since these intersections likely will not get additional work for decades after this project, he wants to ensure that the plan leads to things such as underground wires, improved parking, and a nicer overall appearance in order to satisfy both residents and business owners.
I think for many, the vision of Saxonville and for McGrath Square is that it's not a pass-through, that it's not just an intersection you drive through, but it's a destination.
Other concerns were related to turns at the intersection of Concord Street and Danforth Street, as well as a desire for improved signage and crosswalks, were brought up by the City Council along with community members. Sedowitz said that intersection troubles are often not quick fixes, but added that the DPW has worked to add new striping and signage in recent years. Another topic brought up during the meeting, Athenaeum Hall, which has not been utilized in close to 3 decades. Christine Long of District 1 asked Mayor Sisitsky if any community development block grant money is being earmarked for the Athenaeum. He replied that those block grants are not significant enough to address those problems, adding that he's still waiting on the outcome on an application for funding via the Community Preservation Act. Strategic planning, meanwhile, was a major topic of the January 25th meeting of the Framingham Charter Review Committee. Members of the group heard suggestions for changes related to those matters from Mary Kate Feeney, the chair of the city's Strategic Initiatives and Financial Oversight Committee, also known as SIFOC. Feeney said that SIFOC's recommendations can help shape what Framingham looks like going forward.
Framingham traditionally has been very reactive. Having a strategic plan would make us more proactive. We just do things as they come along, and we're not really thinking about what is it the Framingham that we want. What is the Framingham that reflects our values, our diversity?
Feeney added that trail development, the community center project, and MCI Framingham's future are all factors that are not accounted for in any strategic plan formulated by the city, as follow-ups detailed in the master plan have not come to pass. As a result, SIFOC issued a number of recommended changes to the charter. One would permit the group to assist in the city's review of their capital improvement program. Another would emphasize the reference of land use within the master plan, while a third would change the name of the long-range strategic plan to the long-range strategic blueprint. Feeney explained that the blueprint would lead to the development of plans and action items that will result in developments in sectors like schools, infrastructure, commerce, culture, and sustainability. Through the rest of the recommendations, SIFOC is looking to add additional public input, structure, and accountability regarding Framingham's future plans. Multiple charter committee members agreed with that premise, though members like Andy Lamary suggested that the charter dictate that SIFOC also play a part in the city's budgeting process.
In my experience, that's where the rubber hits the road. We need somebody looking at it and saying, we have this blueprint, this is what's coming up, we need to make sure we're budgeting for that. If we're not doing that, there is no accountability, there is nothing else. That's where the accountability really is.
An update now on the single alarm fire that broke out Saturday night at 22 Victor Road Extension by the area of Kendall Avenue. The Framingham Fire Department was called out to knock down the flames while mutual aid was provided by police and DPW crews. No one was injured as a result. However, Fire Chief Michael Dutcher reported that the home is no longer inhabitable and 10 residents have been displaced from the duplex. Dutcher added that the cause of the fire appeared to be accidental. Massachusetts Bay Community College held the ribbon-cutting ceremony for their new facility on the corner of Mount Waite Avenue and Franklin Avenue on Tuesday. Local and state officials attended the ceremony to commemorate the opening of the Center for Health Sciences, Early Childhood, and Human Services, which features state-of-the-art equipment for students in a wide range of fields. It took just over 2 years to develop the nearly 69,000 square foot site, but MassBay now has its own dedicated home in the city. State funding played a massive part in making the center a reality, covering 90% of the cost. Massachusetts Governor Maura Healey was in attendance on Tuesday. She lauded the building as a center to elevate the aspirations of thousands of students across the region.
It embodies all the reasons why we're prioritizing and investing in our community colleges, because it's about expanding opportunity, expanding equity for students who need and deserve it. And that's what they will get here, with hands-on, skills-driven, career-focused learning.
During her remarks, Healey noted that her administration is planning on proposing a 20% increase to the Mass Reconnect program, which was unveiled publicly last year at MassBay's campus in Wellesley. Mass Reconnect offers residents in the state who are at least 25 years old and without a college degree the opportunity to obtain one free of charge at one of the state's community colleges. The Frame got an exclusive tour of the MassBay site prior to the ribbon-cutting ceremony. That video and more local stories can be found on our website, www.theframe.news. From need-to-know announcements to events going on around the city, you can stay up to date with us. Sign up for the Frame's newsletter as well to stay in touch throughout the week. And as always, our tip line is open. If you have a story idea for us, you can email us at theframe@accessfram.tv or dial 508-216-0003. Coming up next on The Frame, a former student of Framingham's hometown hero, the late Christa McAuliffe, looks back on her memory and legacy. That's just ahead. We'll be right back.
When I was growing up, my mom was extremely tidy. We were trained to put things back where we got them from. One day, when I walked into my mom's house, I felt like I walked to someone else's house. There was stuff everywhere, and just growing up the way I grew up, and to see this transition was very alarming.
When Sean talked to me, it was a wake-up call, and that's when I went to the doctor.
When it comes to making plans, you are the best. The same way you plan each detail for those moments, start planning to protect you and your loved ones from a natural disaster. Protecting your family is the best plan you can make.
Welcome back to The Frame. This past Sunday, January 28th, marked 38 years since 7 crew members, including Framingham's own Christa McAuliffe, lost their lives in the Challenger disaster. The Frame's Mackenzie Wright sat down for an exclusive interview with a former student of McAuliffe's from Concord, New Hampshire, where she taught prior to being selected by NASA for their Teacher in Space program. This is our weekly focus.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6.
They'd set up televisions in all the classrooms throughout the school. It was a roller coaster ride all that year because it was a huge media thing when she was chosen.
Kevin Swope was a senior in high school in January of 1986 at Concord High School in New Hampshire, where Christa McAuliffe, or Mrs. McAuliffe, as her students called her, was a teacher.
She was a fun person. She was very bright. She was very willing to do new things, and it wasn't just a job to her.
Kevin never had Mrs. McAuliffe in the classroom, but knew her very well, as she was an advisor to many of the programs he was involved in, like youth and government. He even went on a week-long trip with her to Washington, D.C. for Close Up, a program that allowed students to explore the Capitol and meet U.S. representatives and senators.
She had a lot of enthusiasm and a lot of energy, which of course is one of the things that NASA focused on and did her so well in the competition.
The teacher who will be going into space, Christa McAuliffe.
Kevin described it as surprising that his teacher from Little Concord, New Hampshire, was selected by NASA for their Teacher in Space project. As soon as President Ronald Reagan and NASA announced the project in 1984, Christa immediately jumped at the opportunity, and out of thousands of candidates within the national search, she came out on top.
Followed by Christa McAuliffe, Teacher in Space. Ellison Onizuka.
Kevin says he knew Mrs. McAuliffe would be great for the mission, a mission rooted in education. Once in orbit, McAuliffe would teach from space, have lessons, and even one-on-one conversations with students.
I remember seeing her in the hall before school, right after I'd heard the news on the radio that morning that she had been picked. We knew she was one of the finalists, but when she'd actually been picked to be the person to go on the mission, I saw her. I said, congratulations. And so it was my last sort of one-on-one talk with her.
Minus 15 seconds.
After numerous delays, on the morning of January 28, 1986, the Challenger space shuttle prepared for liftoff at NASA's Kennedy Space Center in Florida.
The ground crew gives McAuliffe an apple for the teacher, and wishes of good luck.
The world watched. Mrs. McAuliffe's students watched as their teacher, the first American civilian selected to go into space, took off, along with 6 other members of the Challenger crew.
And liftoff of the 25th Space Shuttle mission, and it has cleared the tower.
I was in lunchroom with my girlfriend at the time, and then we actually only watched like the first 30 seconds of it, and then she had to get something from the art room, and then we were going to go to the library.
Challenger, go at throttle up.
We walked into the school library, and it was stone silent. I mean, it was filled with people. And of course, before everybody had been cheering, in the cafeteria. So we walk into the library, and it was just obvious something had happened, because it would not be that quiet for any other reason.
73 seconds into the launch, while Kevin was in the art room, the Challenger shuttle exploded, killing all 7 crew members on board.
Tonight, reporting from Washington.
It is the worst disaster in the history of the American space program, and President Reagan has declared a week of mourning for the 7 astronauts, 5 men and 2 women, who lost their lives on their way into space this morning.
Kevin and his classmates were sent home. Everyone, including faculty and students, processed the tragedy differently, he said. When they returned to the school the following day after the loss of their beloved teacher, they had an all-school assembly.
Anybody could talk, and that was really something. And we had, and everybody I talked to, we all remember that. We always talk about home being in the gym.
At the time of the tragedy, Kevin wasn't familiar with Christa McAuliffe's hometown of Framingham, which was over an hour away from his home in Concord. But that changed in 1999 when he moved to the area.
That must have been sad.
Kevin quickly became involved in Framingham's History Center, serving on the board and volunteering. It was at the History Center that he saw Christa McAuliffe's NASA spacesuit for the first time. Christa's suit is on loan from NASA to the History Center, where they also keep photos and other artifacts that honor her legacy. Elsewhere throughout the city, such as the McAuliffe branch of the Framingham Library and Framingham State University, McAuliffe's alma mater, honor her legacy and love for education as well. Their facilities are named in honor of her and signify a dedication to keeping her mission and memory alive.
So after she'd been named, she already started her training at that point.
And as Kevin looks through his 1986 yearbook, he can't help but reflect on the impact Mrs. McAuliffe had on his life too.
She was a wonderful person to know, and even before she became the first teacher in space and everything else happened, she was definitely one of the highlights of my high school experience.
And thank you to Mackenzie for that story. Speaking of Framingham State University's McAuliffe Center, the facility just celebrated its grand reopening on January 26th. Established nearly 30 years ago to honor McAuliffe, the building welcomed the community to explore its newly renovated space. The site will support learning for various different fields of study, including STEM skills and development. FSU officials are confident that the versatility of the center and its learning opportunities for all will continue to honor McAuliffe's passion and dedication to teaching.
We are carrying forward her legacy that was not just focused on one specific aspect of learning, but was really to support learners in all their capabilities, in all their interests, with enthusiasm and providing, ways to be excited about the learning experiences that they are going into.
The McAuliffe Center is also one of 35 different Challenger Learning Centers. Headquartered in Washington, D.C., Challenger Center is a leading STEM education nonprofit organization dedicated to keeping the crew's educational mission alive. Next week on The Frame, we provide an inside look at the McAuliffe Center and its state-of-the-art learning facilities. You won't want to miss it. Time now for our weekend weather forecast. An overcast outlook for Friday. Cloudy and breezy with highs in the low 40s and lows in the mid-20s. It's slated to clear up on Saturday, though. Expect sunshine then, with highs in the mid-30s and lows in the low 20s. On Sunday, more sunny skies, highs around 40 and lows dropping back down to the low 20s once again. We'd like to remind you that you can always look for us on social media to stay in touch. Find us on Instagram as well as on X at @FrameNews_, where you can find daily updates and tag us when you're out and about in the community. You can also subscribe to the Access Framingham YouTube channel and hit the bell icon to be notified when new weekly episodes go live. Find our Facebook page by simply searching for The Frame as well. Coming up, several appointments for municipal groups and organizations have recently been made in Framingham. Plus, art from Framingham High School students are being put on display at the Project B Gallery. We'll take a look at all of that after the break.
Well, there's very little opportunity for many of these nonprofit organizations in our community to spread their message, to get their word out about their mission and their activities and what they contribute to the community. And so that's been the primary thing that I'm able to do to help them communicate with the public in Framingham and beyond.
Welcome back as we now explore what's happening in our community. Members of the Framingham Community Center Advisory Committee, as well as the leadership of the Framingham School Building Committee, have been appointed by Mayor Sisitsky. Both groups will advise the mayor as the city continues development on the pair of major projects. 25 people were named to the Community Center Advisory Committee, including City Council Chair Phil Ottaviani and Director of the Performing Arts Center of Metro West, Michelle Adams. That full list of 25 names can be found on FraminghamMA.gov. Meanwhile, at-large City Councilor George King, along with District 4 School Committee member Adam Freudberg, were named as the chair and vice chair of the 13-member School Building Committee, respectively. Both groups are expected to begin congregating this month. Meanwhile, Don Della Santa, the Assistant Framingham Public Library Director, has been named by Sisitsky as the interim library director for the city. This comes in the wake of Lena Kilburn's resignation, which took effect in the middle of January. The Framingham Public Library trustees unanimously approved Della Santa's interim role earlier this month, as their search for a new director continues. Della Santa began working for the library back in 2012. The mayor praised her for her experience as both assistant director as well as the McAuliffe Branch Library's leader. And finally this evening, Framingham High School's Fine and Performing Arts Department has been making waves with its latest art exhibition at the Project B Gallery. Titled All That's Constant is Change, this collection of student artwork is a reflection of the times and portrays the emotions that come with experiencing change. Since January 12th, the Mill Contemporary Art Studios has been home for this exceptional showcase of artwork. Here are some clips from the gallery's grand opening.
Hi, my name is Adrienne Schuler, and I'm an art educator at Framingham High School. Myself and another art educator, Scott Alberg, have chosen a group of student artists to highlight here at Project B Gallery at Saxonville Mill Studios. We've selected a group of artists surrounding the theme of change, transformation, growth, and being in a state in between. So please come see the show. We celebrate this group of artists. We are so proud of their achievements. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Zachary Marchetti, and these are my two books as part of the art show. I was heavily inspired by the concept of change and making you feel something. My first book, I was inspired by the concept of feeling nostalgic. So I created a couple of images of things like an old school theater or a hotel pool that I went to. I absolutely love the idea of being in an art show and having exposure. And I also love seeing all the other art pieces that people create.
Hello, I'm Benny. This is my art project from Ms. Mansfield's class. It's a scale representing a choice. One side has a phone and the other side has ideas that people may think of as success. And it's supposed to represent a choice or the priority of some people, and it actually moves. And we were given the prompt of making something big. This is what I came up with because it's something that I have noticed in my life.
The students who curated these pieces have done a great job, and the exhibit is a must-see for anyone interested in seeing the world through the eyes of young artists. The artwork will be on view at the Project B Gallery until this Sunday, February 4th. That'll be it for this week's Framingham News in Focus. On behalf of everyone here at The Frame, thank you for watching tonight. My name is Brendan Fitzpatrick. We'll talk to you next week. Take care.